How has being a comedian made you a better marketer and vice versa?
It's, you know what happened, I was working in a different area of the corporate world. Then I got interested in comedy, and from there I figured I couldn't pay the bills doing stand-up. And I was doing some things, I was writing some freelance jokes for Letterman, and that's $75 a joke whenever you get it on there. So what happened basically is my wife decided that I was going to go back to work. And that's how I got into corporate communications. I thought, well, I could still do humor and have a day job and get dental benefits. So that's kind of where it came about. One thing that's interesting is I mentioned earlier when I was speaking out here that I took a class from a guy named Eddie Brill, who's the warm-up comedian for Letterman. And he said, look, you need to get your first joke across in 20 seconds when you're up there on stage. You got 20 seconds to win over your first laugh. Now, few people in corporate communications sit down when they're writing and think, how am I going to be sure I connect with my audience with what I'm writing in 20 seconds? You don't think that way. And I think everybody who writes would benefit from going to a stand-up comedy class just because you really focus on not what you're saying, but how the audience is processing it and how they're hearing things and how they connect with the message. So it's the perfect way. I think stand-up comedy and comedy in general is just perfect for serving a communications career.
How about the other way around? How has crafting 140-character tweets and other little social media bits affected your comedy writing?
Oh, it's been great. It's been a wonderful way. I'm not the most disciplined guy in the world, and being a social media guy and having to tweet for my company as part of my job, it's kind of forced me into needing to do more of it. So, Shakespeare said brevity is the soul of wit, and Twitter, he probably came up with the idea of Twitter, just couldn't implement it, couldn't get the capital, I'm guessing. But it's a wonderful way to, again, it really focuses you to have economy in your writing when you're limited to 140. So that's a great way.
So humor is a subjective thing, and the line between funny and offensive is often kind of blurry. How do you stay funny without going horribly off-brand?
First of all, not every stand-up comedian is the right material for corporate. A lot of people feel very comfortable being edgy and blue and vulgar, and that's not going to be a good fit as a corporate employee in most cases. There are exceptions, of course. So I think you need to be willing to and be comfortable in that corporate world. And I grew up there and then moved over to comedy, so it was quite easy for me because I came from that background. So I came up knowing what's appropriate and what's not in the corporate space. So for me personally, it's been pretty easy, and I really don't worry too much about being off-brand. I have a marketing background, I have an MBA in marketing and technology, so I understand how messaging needs to connect to a strategy, and that's the starting point. And just kind of with that knowledge, I set out and then try to create something organically that's not too closely tied to a message, but does have a purpose. So
before your current gig at Cisco, you wrote and produced a branded series for IBM called Art of the Sale.
That's right.
Which was cited as an example of the Jon Stewartizing of corporate communications.
Yes, that was one of my favorite quotes.
Do you think branded entertainment will play an increasingly important role in the future of advertising and marketing?
Definitely. Here at this conference, somebody asked a question earlier today about, I think the question was, well, should we really be doing this? Should we be playing around and really entertaining? And I think absolutely. I think not everything, that should be your whole strategy, but part of your budget should go to just having fun. And I think if you do that, I think that's very human. It's a very human thing to do. It's like, I'm not going to push a message at you. I'm not going to hit you with my speaking points all the time. At some point, I'm just going to say, I appreciate you by creating some entertainment for you. All right? That's kind of the idea around and behind what we do. And that's at Cisco, in the group I work with, it's a service provider group, and it's a very technical crowd, and a lot of our content is extremely technical and extremely dry. So I'm glad that our executives are like, you know what, take some of the budget and play around. That's cool.
So this last question, circling back to the world of comedy and your current job at Cisco. As a comic, you have a unique voice and of your own. In your role at Cisco, you're also representing the brand's voice. So how do you keep these voices consistent but distinct at the same time.
Yeah, that's a lot of people find that difficult to do, but I think you know, when I'm writing and I'm tweeting for Cisco, of course, I have a purpose, and there's usually a story I need to tell about Cisco. But I do show my personality as well, and I write, and there's some humor in there too, and there's some, I hope there are humorous tweets. And some people may not like that, but you know, I think it's important for anybody on the social media team at any corporation to share their personality as well. On my side, on my Facebook page, for example, that's pretty much personal. I keep that personal. Every now and then there's something about Cisco, particularly if there's a production that I'm proud of, then I'll post that on my Facebook page and tweet it on from my personal side.